bracket, that is 3 times square root of. Now we are going to get the two factors of 98, in which one of them is a perfect square. Welcome back to my channel. We are going to enjoy this topic because we are going to treat it from scratch. So if all this while you are not able to solve anything under this topic, this is a time for you to follow us. This is a time for you to pay attention and grab the details. Okay, now in this topic we are going to explain the opposite of this so that we understand this. What is the opposite of it? The opposite of this is the opposite of this is perfect square. Now what is a perfect square? For example, if we have 4, root 4 will give us 2. So a perfect square will give you an exact number when you take its square root. So 4 is a perfect square. 16 is a perfect square, since root 16 will give us what? 4. 25 too is a perfect square, since root 25 will give us 5, and so on and so forth. Now there are some numbers that when you take their square root, you are not going to get an exact value. You are going to get decimals, sometimes non-terminating decimals. For example, if we say root 2 now, it is not what? A perfect square, because root 2 is going to give us a decimal. Now same thing with root 3, it's going to give us decimal. Same thing with root 5, is going to give us decimal. Now all these ones that you cannot get their exact value are called this or this. Do you now understand? Okay, now let's go ahead and treat this topic in details. First of all, we are going to start with the rules that we apply while solving anything under this topic. Excuse me. Now the rules are: number 1, that root p times q, that is, if you have root p times q, that you can express this as square root of p times square root of q. All right, now for example, if we have square root of 36 times 4, we can express this as square root of 36 times square root of 4. Now we can write this as what? 6 times 2, which is 12. All right, this is the first rule. Now the second one is actually the opposite of this. The second one is the opposite. So the second one says that square root of p over q can be written as square root of p over square root of q. Okay, so for example, if you have square root of 36 over 4, now you can write this as square root of 36 divided by square root of 4. Then we can write this as square root of 36 is 6, square root of 4 is 2, and you're going to get 3. Is that understood? All right, now let's go over to the most important aspects of this topic, which is what? Simplification. So let's go over to simplification. Let's clean even the topic, we don't need it now. Okay, so let's go over to simplification of it. Simplification of if you've been playing all this while, this is time for you to pay attention, because without the knowledge of this subtopic, you will not be able to solve anything under this topic. Okay, so we are going to start with some examples. Example. All right, we are asked to simplify a root 8, b root 12, c say root 162. Let's go to something bigger. Let's use these three examples to actually explain this, or let's add another, something that has multiplication with 8. Okay, 3 roots. This is not cube root. 3 times root what? 98. Okay, now how do we solve this? These are very easy to solve. Let's start from the smallest or the easiest, root 8. Now when you want to simplify something like this, all you need is what? You need 2 factors of this 8. One of them must be a perfect square. Remember our explanation or definition of what a perfect square is. So when you want to solve this, you need 2 factors. one of those factors must be a perfect square. What are factors? Factors are the numbers that when you multiply together you get 8. That is what I mean by two factors. Now you need one of them must be a perfect square. So in this is what actually we can use what 4 times 2. Yes, 4 times 2. But sometimes it might not be easy for you to pick your two factors, especially when the number is much. For example, 162. It's not easy for you to say that this is this times this. So how do we do it? I'm going to explain this in details now. To get this is how I solve it. You write your 8. So you're going to divide this 8 by a smallest number possible. The smallest factor aside 1 that can divide 8 is 2. So we're going to start dividing with 2. So we'll write 2. When 8 is divided by 2, we will have 4. Well, the smallest number that can divide 4 apart from 1 is 2 as well. So 2 will divide 4 to give us 2. 2 will divide 2 to give us 1. Now, there is something I forgot to mention. When you multiply the same number twice, when you multiply a number by itself, you will get a perfect square. Now, remember that we said that we need two factors of this, that one of them must be a perfect square. Now, to get that perfect square, when we look at this, we are going to multiply a number by itself to get the perfect square that we need. Okay, so it's going to be 2 times 2 to give us 4. So that means that 4 times 2 will give us 8. Now we have succeeded in getting what? 2 factors of 8, and one of them is a perfect square. So we can now express this as root 4 times 2. All right, now we are going to apply the first rule, which says that when you have something like this, you can actually separate them, right? So we can write this as root 4 times root 2. Now this can be written as root 4 is what? 2 times root 2 is what? 2 root 2. So this is the simplest form of what? Root 8. Interesting, right? Okay, if you have watched this video to this stage, I think this is the time you need to click that subscription button. If this is the first time you are seeing this page, please click on the subscription button and on your notification bell so that you will be notified anytime I upload a new video. We are going to treat another subtopic after this, so I advise you stay tuned. Now B, we are asked to solve root 12. Now we need two factors of what? 12, that when you multiply them, that one of them must be a perfect square. Sorry, two factors of 12, one of them must be a perfect square. Let's use this method and solve it. Remember what I told you. Looking at this, the solution is 4 times 3. But what if you don't know that it's 4 times 3? So let's do it this way. We have 12. Now 2 will divide 12 to give us 6. Since 2 is the smallest number that can divide 12 aside 1. Yes, 3 can divide 12, 4 can divide 12. But no, we are going to make use of what? 2. Okay? So because 2 is the smallest. Now when 12 is divided by 2, you have 6. Then the smallest factor of 6 aside 1 is 2 as well. So when 2 divides 6, you have 3. At this point, only 3 can divide. Now we need a perfect square. And to get a perfect square, we need to multiply a number by itself. So we have 2 and 2. Let's multiply it together to get a perfect square. So that means that 4 times 3 will give us what? 12. So we can express this as square root of what? 4 times 3. Alright. Now we can separate this. We can now separate this as what? Square root of 4 times square root of 3. Now what is square root of 4? 2 times root what? 3. So that means that this is 2 root 3. So it means that the simplest form of root 12 is 2 root 3. As easy as that. Okay, now we have a bigger number here. That is root 162. Just like I keep mentioning, sometimes we have a bigger number and it will not be easy for you. It won't be easy for you to actually pick the factors you want out. So we are going to use that my method to pick the two factors that we need. So we are going to write 162. The smallest number that can divide 162 is 2. Let me do that here. I think this place will not be enough. So let me do it here. So this is 162. Now let's divide by 2. You have what? You are going to have 81. Now what we go here is 3. Alright? So when 3 divide 8, you have 2 remainder 2. If you divide 21, you have 7. 3 will divide again. Remember, you keep dividing with the smallest factor possible. The smallest factor. Okay, like this 81, I know that 9 can divide it, but I won't use 9 to divide. I'll use 3 instead. Okay, now when 27 divided by 3, I'll have 9. When 3 divides 9, you have 3. When 3 divides 3, you have 1. So we are going to pick what? Our perfect squares. How? 3, we have two numbers here. Notice that 3 and 3, 3 and 3, they're identical. Like 3 times 3 will give us 9. 3 times 3 will give us another 9. So we are going to multiply the two perfect squares together to get the one perfect square that we need. I hope you understood what I did. Remember that when you multiply two numbers, when you multiply a number by itself, you get a perfect square. So we now have 3 times 3 will give us this 9. Now we have another set. 3 times 3 will give us another 9. But remember that we need just one perfect square. If you multiply a perfect square by itself, you will get another perfect square. Okay, so 9 times 9 will give us 81, and 81 is a perfect square. Yes, when you multiply a perfect square by another perfect square, you get a perfect square again. For example, we all know that 4 is a perfect square, right? Times 9 is also a perfect square. Now when you multiply two perfect squares together, you get 36. And notice that 36 is also a perfect square. So when you have two perfect squares in your own solution, multiply them together to get a perfect square. So that means that we are going to have 81 times these 2 that is remaining here. Okay, 81 times these 2. So we can then express this as what? Square root of 81 times 2. So this same thing as square root of 81 times square root of 2. Okay, so square root of 81 will give us 9 times root 2 will give us root 2. So it means that the simplest form of 162, root 162 is what? 9 root 2. Okay, let's solve the last but not the least, which is 3 root 98. 3 root 98. So D, 3 root 98. Alright, we all know that this same thing as 3 brackets, that is 3 times square root of. Now we are going to get the two factors of 98, in which one of them is a perfect square. So we are going to draw our line. We have 98. Now 2 will divide 98 to give us what? 49. Right? Yes. Now what we go here is 7. When 7 divides 49, we have 7. 7 divides 7, we have 1. Now to get our perfect square, we are going to multiply a number by itself to get 49. That means the number we need are 49 and 2. These are the numbers that we need. 49 times what? 2. So that means that we can express 98. We can express 98 as what? 49 times 2. Okay, so this is equal to 3 brackets. We can now separate this as root 49 times root 2. Okay, so this is equal to 3 brackets. Square root of 49 will give us 7, right? 7 times root 2. So this is equal to 3 times 7 will give us what? 21 root 2. So it means that the simplest form of 3 root 98 is 21 root 2. I think this video is getting longer and I don't want it to be too long. So I'm going to cut this video here. Okay, watch out for the next subtopic under this topic. Thank you so much for watching and do have a lovely day. Bye.